पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाषकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ईश्वरो गुरुरामेति मूर्तिभेदविदाहिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। So Dakshinamurti is being treated as the Adi Guru, or is called Ishvaraha. Ishvaraha Guruhu. So the fundamental question or the answer we need to know is, what is Ishvara? We all talk about concept called Ishvara. So we need to understand really what is Ishvara. Is there a particular phenomenon called Ishvara? Is there a person called Ishvara to whom we pray? And how is this Ishvara appear? Is it real or unreal? Can it be understood or cannot be understood? Will this Ishvara have a life, or is this a person governed by time? So all these questions are, we talk about it. So when we say Ishvara protect me, or Ishvara will take care of my requirement. So when we say this kind of a statement, at that time we do not make an inquiry about what is this Ishvara we're talking about. Is the request to the Ishvara outside of you, or is the request to the Ishvara which is inside of you? Supposing if I ask somebody, says, who are you? Says, I am so and so, Sridharji. Then it asks, Sridharji, where do you stay? He said, I am living in Trichy. So what do you do? He said, I'm retired, I'm studying Vedanta, I'm doing something else. So, and where is God? He says, God is up. So you are able to identify everything. Even the God also becomes a place, an object, correct? So the common answer which everybody gives is, where is God located? So you always try to locate for the Bhagavan in a place, or Ishvara. So Bhagavan, Ishvara, they're all same name. You can call, just like awareness, consciousness, Chit, they're all same existence. It's all one name, one substance, many names. Just as one clay can have many different types of pots. So you can call earthen pot, you can call a small pot, big pot, colored pot. There are different types of pots. But just by having a name, the substance doesn't get changed, correct? The substance is only one, ekam. The forms are bahuda. The forms are many. And also the karma also is many. The functions are many also. A small pot can only store little amount of water. A big pot can store large amount of water. Small pot is lighter, big pot is heavier. So it comes with its own attributes. Correct? But when the pot breaks, small pot or big pot, what happens to the pot? The pot itself is not there anymore. The name pot disappears, but the pot continues to exist in the form of clay. The only thing is the name and the form. Name pot has gone, Ghataha has gone, and the function of the pot is no longer there, but the cause of the pot continues to exist irrespective of the name and the form. Right? So in the same way, the Bhagavan also is, Ishvara also is located everywhere. If we are trying to locate the Ishvara or trying to look for him in a particular place, then you'll also have to reach him. Just like we all have at gmail.com or at org.net. Bhagavan also will have an email address, ishvara@gmail.com. Somebody can write to him. Unfortunately, you cannot write to him because the very essence of everything is Ishvara. So one has to understood very clearly that Ishvara is not something to be searched. It is to be understood as whatever you see here, whatever you experience here, whatever thoughts arise in your mind, anything which is your cognizable, everything is Ishvara here. Also, that which is not understood by you also is Ishvara. So, in reality, there is nothing here other than Ishvara. So, instead of asking the question, where is Ishvara? Like the Christianity, other people say, where is Christ? Christ is in heaven. Or where is Allah, they say. He's always a person, he's always been there. There's a person there. But in Vedanta, we always say that the question of where is Ishvara is not to be asked. We must say where Ishvara is not. So the same question is put in a different manner. Where Ishvara is not, you tell me. So this opens up the perspective of the person saying that everything here is Ishvara. And this Bhagavan is a person who is endowed with all the different aspects of Aishwaryam, which is overlordship. I hope I mentioned to you before the Bhagavan, meaning of Bhagavan. If you don't have, let me repeat. The Bhagavan means Bhagaha. So Bhagaha means part. And a person who has got parts or who is the owner of all the parts is called the Bhagavan. Just like Buddhiman, when they say, a person who is the owner of Buddhi is called Buddhiman. If you say Dhanvan, a person who has got Dhan or wealth is called Dhanvan. Likewise, Bhagavan, when you say, or Ishvaraha, the person who has got 6 aspects or 6 bhagaha. So the first bhagaha is called Aishwaryam. Aishwaryam means overlordship, complete overlordship or complete superiority, you can say. In terms of Ishvaraha, we also have overlordship. But our overlordship is limited by nature. Example, we have superiority over an ant. We have overlordship towards the children. We have overlordship towards your wife if you're lucky, or your husband. So we have our own limited amount of overlordship, where you can prove your superiority to some extent. But when the same ant, who's we try to avoid walking around saying that, oh, you are just an ant, I don't want to hurt you. The same ant, when it starts to go inside your ear, or when it goes deep into your ear, you are powerless. Right? So all your powers which are there is limited as compared to this. So there are certain things which is beyond your control. So the Bhagavan has to be understood, or Ishvara has to be understood as a person who has got complete overlordship. It's called Samagra Aishwaryam, or Samagraha means total. Samagra Aishwaryam is the first one, which is complete overlordship. So the first Bhagaha, first part of the Bhagavan or Ishvara. Then the second is called Shrihi. Shrihi. So Shrihi means wealth. So Shrihi in Sanskrit or in Vedanta is called wealth. And it talks all types of wealth, not just wealth of, if you have gold, that is okay. If you have intellect, also is wealth. If you have good health, also is health. The longevity, ayuhu also is wealth. Time is also wealth. Very important thing. In today's environment, time is wealth. Because the person who's got time, he's got more wealth than anybody else. He can do whatever he wants. If you do not have time, you're always struggling for time. So that also is a limited factor. Correct. If you go to a rich person also, he will say that I can only give you this much money. And he will say no also, I don't have enough wealth to give you. Whereas the Bhagavan is supposed to be the person who has got all the wealth. Samashti wealth put together. Samashti, he means what all wealth put together is the Bhagavan. So it's called Samagra Shrihi. Samagra Shrihi means all wealth. But I'll teach you one mantra before. It is a contemplation mantra which you should chant, or you can chant every day. It gives you, it's a simple prayer. And that mantra, if you just chant mentally, at least say, initially chant 9 times, then 21 times. Then I'll teach the meaning of the mantra also, what does it mean. Then becomes a contemplation, becomes japaha for you. Okay. So in that mantra, Shrihi also is there. Shrihi. So we do not need to be stingy about asking only gold. You can say, give me all wealth. Why you should be stingy in asking to the Bhagavan? You give me everything what I need for successful accomplishment of my objective in this life. So you just ask. So do not be afraid of asking, because at the end of the day, what is wrong in asking? You're asking because you are helpless. We are helpless, that's why we ask, we pray. So when we pray in totality, saying that give me everything what I think I need for me to be a successful person in this life. So even seeking moksha also is Shrihi, because there is also a wealth. So all types of wealth you ask, longevity, ayuhu, then wealth, real wealth, good health, mental peace, intellect, vivekaha, all of them are required. So, but the Bhagavan does not need to go and ask anybody else. Ishvara does not go and ask somebody that about being intelligent, because as you're going to see, Ishvara is the intelligent person. There is nobody intelligent than Ishvara in the Bhagavan. We are less intelligent because we are product of matter. And we are limited by nature due to understanding of what it is. But here Ishvara is taken as Samagra Shrihi. So second one. First is Aishwaryam, second is Shrihi. Then Jnanam, third. Knowledge, total knowledge or Samagra Jnanam. That means he is a person who knows all knowledge. It's called Sarvagyaha. Sarvagyaha is the Bhagavan. Alpagyaha is the Jivaha. Alpagyanam, Sarvagyanam. Alpagyanam means little knowledge. So we have knowledge about something, but we do not have Purna Jnana. To understand the whole philosophy of this entire universe about your own self, you need to have full knowledge. Then only you can really understand the whole, how everything is there. But due to our limitation, due to our inclination or not our preparedness of the mind, we are not able to understand the vastness or the complexity of the entire thing. So that is why the Bhagavan is said to be as the Sarvagyaha. So Samagra Jnanam. Example could be, if I say that, if I show you a rose, you will say it's a flower, correct? And you can say that the rose is, it's a flower, it's a rose. It's red color, you can identify, red in color, is white in color, you can say that, correct? Then you can say, how does it grow? You may say it is growing in the ground. So up to certain level, you can analyze, you know that. Beyond a certain point, you will say that when asked a question, I don't know that answer. I don't know. I don't know. So there is I know and I don't know. Either you know or you don't know, right? There are two things. But the Bhagavan doesn't have an answer called I don't know. He doesn't have something called I don't know, because if he is like us, then we would be hesitant to go and ask him for anything. So he's supposed to be having Purna Jnanam or full Jnanam. Right? It's called. Then the fourth one is called Vairagyam or Vairagaha or Viragaha. So Ragaha means longing. Ragaha means longing, or we long for certain things. So I need this, I need that. There's always a search, also is a longing. And Viragaha or Vairagi is a person who does not have any longing like this. He's over the longing anymore. He's not searching for that particular thing anymore. It's called Vairagi. So Vairagyam, when I say, in Tamil we have the word called Vairagyam. So it is commonly misinterpreted. If you say that from tomorrow onwards I will not have coffee because your wife had told you that I'm not here to make you coffee every day, you make it yourself. So in a fit of rage you say, okay, I don't want your coffee. From tomorrow onwards, I will not have coffee tomorrow. It is my decision. It is all useless vairagya. It won't hold long. It can be there for some time, 1 week, maybe 1 month. After that, again, same thing will happen. So this is not called vairagyam. This is still desire. But here what it means, to be free from desire is called viragaha. So the Bhagavan or the Ishvara talked about here is the one who is free from vairagyam, who is actually above vairagyam. He doesn't have anything called longing anymore, because he's a limitless person. Then we got yashas or fame. Yashaha means fame, absolute fame. So we all have fame and we all want to be famous. But we also know that becoming famous is not in our hand. We can do all the actions required to become famous, to be well known, well regarded, but the results are not actually in your hand at all. But the Ishvara is a person, or is a phenomenon, you can say, who has got all the results, is the order by itself. Ishvara is none other than Dharma. So whenever you see Dharma, you see Ishvara there. So we saw Dharma, different types of Dharma are there. But Samanya Dharma, which is common law, common sense. So common sense prevails, we say. It means what? You know what is common sense means. Whatever you don't feel it should be done to you, you must not do to other people. This is common sense. You do not want to be hurt by somebody. Thereby, you should not also hurt, you should not talk to somebody about this, correct? So, it is a common thing. You do not need a lot of intelligence for that. Correct. So, this is called common. All dharmas are there. Violating dharmas. So, Samanya Dharma, Vishesha Dharma. So, special dharma applicable for a person who is in a particular position. So, if you are a Brahmana, then you've got a Brahmana Dharma applicable to you. If you are a Kshatriya, then Kshatriya Dharma is applicable to you. If you are a Vaishya, if you are a business person, a particular Dharma is applicable to you. And if you are Shudraha, a particular thing applicable to you. Shudraha means it's not an untouchable person. It is a person because he or she may not be qualified, and there are certain people, always society, there are who serve these other people. They like to be serving other people. So the Varnashrama was created by Krishna a long time ago, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. But the Varnashrama is being extended to a certain extent and taken in negativity completely. According to Vedanta, there is no Brahmana, there is no Kshatriya, there is no Vaishya, there is no Shudra. There is only Manusha. There is only Jiva. But due to time and everything else, they have been extended and people have convoluted everything about understanding. Brahmanas are being insulted. Kshatriyas are being, promoted. Something like this. Shastram says, Brahma Jnana iti Brahmana. A person who wears a punal or, upavitam does not become a Brahmana. Neither if you are born in a Brahmana family, you become a Brahmana. You become a Brahmana only by Brahma Jnana iti Brahmana. That means the person knows Brahman or consciousness, the truth of one's own self, he is called a Brahmana. And so Shastram says very clearly. You can call yourself called Brahmana. They are called Karma Brahmanas. So by Karma they are Brahmanas. But by Jnanam they are not Brahmanas at all. Because in Jnanam, these things are all not required. All these things are, all karma is gone already. All rituals are not there anymore. So here he talks about this famous Yashaha, meaning the fame. Then the last one is called Viryam. Viryam means power. So power is something which is with the Bhagavan all the time. And it is something inseparable. Power cannot be kept separately. Like the word powerful, to say, there cannot be a word called powerful without having power in that. So one cannot say I am powerful without power being there. So power is also relative. So we are powerful to the extent of what we can achieve. But there are certain things which you cannot achieve due to we are powerless. So the Ishvara is supposed to be having all the powers, all the strength, Viryam required of all the Jivas put together. So Samashti Jiva power is equal to Ishvara. Samashti fame, Yashaha is equal to Ishvara. Samashti Vairagyam is equal to Ishvara. So all the Jivas, individual Jivas all put together all the powers which you have is one total. So we all are amshaha, part of that as jivaha. But in totality, when you surrender everything into Ishvaraha, there is nothing more called jiva anymore, it's only Ishvaraha. So that is the concept which is called Ishvaraha here. And one other thing we have to talk about Ishvara is, does Ishvara require anything to make this universe? Does he need anything to make this universe? Or does he need anything to make the jivas? So to understand this, you need to look at the example of a spider. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, there's a mantra called Yatha Uranabihi. Yatha Uranabihi Srujate Krishnate Cha. Yatha means just as. And Urnam means the thread. Urnam. You all seen a spider in your home, right? I'm pretty sure Australia, we have spiders. So if you watch the spider, I watched the spider. When I was studying Vedanta, one of the things was to look at the spider, how it operates. Out of nowhere, the spider will come. You don't even know the spider, you don't even see the spider. But suddenly when you walk at night, you'll hit your head against some big web. And when you start watching it, you'll see the spider busy creating the web, right? And it'll keep going up this side, it'll go that side, it'll go top, it'll keep creating the web. Now, does the spider go and fetch the yarn from some other place? So does it go to the market to buy some thread, and then it eats a thread, and then the thread is swallowed by the spider and it's kept inside, and then it makes a web like this? So the spider doesn't go marketing, right? It doesn't go markets. The spider is just a spider. Come on, you just keep going around the wall like this, and you will see a big bump in the middle. It's got 8 legs. It's got a big bump in the middle. So, Yatha Ura Nabihi. Nabihi means this abdomen of the spider, right? From the spider's abdomen, the spider has got a capacity to throw or emit this web. So the web itself is stored inside the abdomen of the spider. And it creates a web on its own. And it sits in the middle of this web as a yogi, as the person is sitting there in meditation. You will see it can sit there for hours and hours and hours without doing anything. You can stay there for 3 hours, it won't be doing anything at all. It will just be very, very patient. But the moment you put a small twig or stick or something, it will go and search. It knows what to take and what not to take, correct? If you put a small fly or a small insect, it knows, because the web is so strong or so lightly made, it knows by itself that what to search for, what not to search for. If you put a big stick or a twig on the web, it won't come and do anything at all, because the weight of the twig itself is known to him, onto the web. So it knows that it is something not I want to examine about it. But something very small, tiny insect or something flies and falls into the web, it immediately goes and grabs. Correct. So it is very selective in terms of what to search and what not to search. Now, who has given this spider intelligence? Did the spider go and search for intelligence outside? The spider came with intelligence on its own, given by the Srishti itself, right? By the creation, by the whole Prapancha itself. The knowledge was created in the spider itself for it to generate that kind of web within the body itself. Whatever food it eats, whatever activity it does, we can't see what is inside the spider's abdomen. Even if you kill also, you will not be able to see it. But when the spider is active, you can see the web coming out of the abdomen like this. It starts to weave. So every time the spider moves along that side, it gets web there, it comes back, another one. So if you really watch it, the spider is supposed to be the best yogi for Vedanta. If you want to study Vedanta, if you want to know, the spider is the best example. That's why it said, Yatha uranabihi srujate, means just it weaves. And grihnate cha, after it weaves, it also got a capacity for it to take the web back. So you may see 1 or 2 days it will be there. After some time you see, oh, there is no web, there's no spider. Spider is gone. Because it has gone somewhere else. It has got the capacity to withdraw the web and then take it into its abdomen, go somewhere else, then do the same thing again. So what it means, there are two things being here. One thing is called upadana karanam, or the cause, the material cause. So there is a material required for the spider to produce the web, correct? Is the material acquired by the spider outside of its own thing? Does it go to another spider and ask for loan or for some help or technology assistance? Say that I need to do a web. Can you please teach me how to do this? It doesn't. A small baby also, spider, within few days, it knows how to generate a web. So the intelligence which is given in the spider is the intelligent cause. So the Bhagavan is supposed to be the intelligent cause and the material cause. So the intelligence to create the web is inbuilt in the spider. The material to create the web also is inbuilt in the spider. So in Vedanta we call this called Nimitta Karanam. Nimitta Karanam or Upadana Karanam. Upadanaha means substance and Nimittaha means intelligent cause. So when Ishvara wanted to create this universe, this whole Prapancha, all these different species, different octopus, different types of jivas, different varieties of plants and animals, and so many things are there. Do you think that he would have gone and approached somebody for help? Because if he was, then there has to be somebody above Ishvara. And even that person also should be limited. So there has to be someone who has to be unlimited in terms of knowledge. Correct? So here the universe or the Bhagavan is supposed to be seen as the one who has got immense powers, unlimited powers, or the one who is the cause and also the effect. The cause of the universe and the effect of the universe also is the Bhagavan. So there is nothing here other than the Bhagavan, universe, and what you see or the objective world also is Bhagavan. And the cause of the universe also is Bhagavan, from which everything came into existence also is Bhagavan. See, in the Chandogya Upanishad, this is a mantra. So I'm introducing some text here and there. Do not get worried about it. It says, Sadhaiva Saumyam Idamagramasit Ekameva Dvitiyam. Sadhaiva Saumyam Idamagramasit Ekameva Dvitiyam. So, Sri Uddalakha is teaching, a student. He says, say Saumyaha, or the most pleasing person. Saumyaha means, oh, young person who is pleasing personality. Sadeva Saumyam. Sadeva means this, before everything came, it was only Sat was existing. Only existence, consciousness was existing. There was nothing here before. Sadeva Saumyam Idam, here, Agre. Agre means before. Asit means existed. So before everything else, there's only existence which was there. So when I say existence, it means, I told you, consciousness, awareness, chit. They're all only one word. Substance also is one word. So all of them are same. And how was it? Ekam, as one. Eva Advitiyam, undivided. So there are no two things. So when we say, in Vedanta, in the teaching we say, every religion says there is one God, correct? They say there is one God for everybody, correct? But what we say in teaching, there is only God. There's no one God, because one also becomes a number. Then one becomes also a number, means is all subject to time. That one person will, what if he goes away, slips away? So what do we say? The one also resolved in only. So the only God. There is no one God or two God, there is only God here. So there is only Ishvara here. Hope you are able to follow, right? So the vision is to see everything as whole. See yourself as Ishvara, number one. And through the vision of you being Ishvara, you see every object within yourself and outside as Srishti only. But this theory of spider can create some confusion also. Sometimes you'll see the spider does not take the web back and it just goes somewhere. You've seen that? Sometimes, I told you before, the spider has got a capacity to withdraw the web and go with the web, right? Sometimes there'll be no web at all. Sometimes the spider will not be there, but web will be there. So you would be thinking that the web is there and the spider is there. But the spider would already gone somewhere else, leaving the web. So this theory of, the spider being the exact karanam may not sometimes hold good. See, some other logician can come and ask you, oh, you are saying that the web is taken to spider goes elsewhere and there's another Srishti. But I have seen the spider is not there, web is there. So what happened to this one? So does it mean that the spiders abandoned the web and gone to another place and there's another web? So can the Ishvara also abandon this universe, go and create another universe somewhere else? Hope you're getting the point, right? Can the Ishvara abandon us and then say, I'm all bored with you guys. I want to go and create another Srishti now. Can I do that? He cannot. Because there was never Ishvara outside of you. Number one. There's no question of you being separate from, non-separate from Ishvara. It is due to the Ajnanam or the Maya, which is the power of consciousness. which makes us believe that we are different from Ishvara. Is right? There is an ignorance or there is a maya, there is a power which conceals our vision and makes us think that we are not Ishvara. So maya is to be conquered, to be understood, and to be resolved. So it is like when you see if you gaze up the stars, look at the sky, you will say that it's a very, very cloudy day and I don't see the sun at all. There's no sun today. It's a very cloudy day. Is it right? We say that. There's a lot of clouds today. There's no sun, very dark. So you look up and say there is no sun today. We speak normally. But do you really see there's no sun there? The sun is there. Because of the sun being there only you can see the cloud. The sun being there, because sun being there, you are able to see the cloud. The sun was not there, can you see the cloud? You can't. So what do you see? You see the cloud and you assume that the sun is not there. Whereas if you understand that the cloud was always covered with sun is always covering there. The sun was always there. So what do? You remove the cloud from your eyes. When you remove the cloud from your eyes, what do you see? You see clarity. You see the light. The same way, as long as a jiva thinks that I am a jiva, I am a limited person, I am this body, mind, sense complex, I am governed by the three different bodies, the causal body, gross body, physical body, and causal body and Sukshma Shariram, three things, correct? So as long as I have got this, I will never be able to understand Ishvara. So one has to transcend this. Now, Vedanta gives a better explanation about this particular Ishvara. The spider example I gave you, you study it or keep it there for some time. I also told you that the spider sometimes leaves the web and goes somewhere else and starts its own another web on its own. It has got capacity to do not one web, it can do multiple webs. But Ishvara will not do that. Ishvara cannot leave the universe and go and start another prapanchaha, another parallel prapanchaha, saying that there will be another Vedanta class somewhere starting there, and somebody else, there's a huge new Srishti will be there. I don't want to talk to you, nothing like this. Ishvara is always part of this universe because Ishvara is the material cause and intelligent cause. Now this is explained in Vedanta with the example of a dream. Now all of us dream. Correct. And I also dream. I'm not saying that I don't dream. Everybody dreams. If somebody says I don't dream, then it is something not right. Everybody dreams at some point of time. Not every day. Definitely, at least in the week, 2 or 3 times a week, you will definitely dream something. It is part of our sleep cycle. You never go into deep sleep state without going from half sleeping to dream state and then to deep sleep state. And again, you wake up. So if you look at the cycle of sleep, there is something called like a light sleep, deep dream state, deep sleep state, which is really very short, maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Then again, you are awake for some time. Again, you drift into dream, again into deep sleep. So this continues for a long period of time. Then there's a lengthy period of sleep time, which is called light sleep. So the light sleep is the one where you got half knowledge. In deep sleep state, you do not have any knowledge. So in the dream state, let us say, you are having a dream. Let us say you are having a nice, it was a good Bollywood movie or something like this, which you wanted to watch for a long time. You watched the movie and you like the hero and the heroine, the songs. And sometimes you wish that I was not, how would I have been like, young like this? Maybe I would like to romance a heroine or like to listen the song like this, whatever. So you fantasize. So you substitute yourself into the dream there. You become the hero there. The heroine also supplied by you. Costumes are supplied by you. Location supplied by you. Intensity supplied by you. Song supplied by you, directed by you. Is there anyone else in the dream other than you? There's nobody else, right? There's nobody else comes and tells you that I will make your dream like this. In your dream, you are the creator, right? You create your own dreams out of what? Out of your own materials. You do not go out and ask somebody else, see, today I'm going to have a dream like this. Today I'm going to romance this heroine. I need to get costume from the shop. You do not go and get costume from the shop there. On the spot, you create costumes. You change. Example, you can have any dream what you want. If you're studying Vedanta, you'll have different dreams. Some chanting will come to you. Some mantra will come to you. So, in your dream, you are the creator. So, you are the Upadana Karana. So, you are the person who is material cause. Is it right? And you're also the intelligent cause. So, the intelligence is provided by you to create something out of where? Out of only from your own self. So you are the one who is a creator of the universe, of the dream world, which is a dream universe. You're also the intelligent cause of the dream universe. Correct? So far, you are able to relate to the spider. So the spider also creates a web. So is a creator. Upadana Karanam. Nimitta Karanam, there's got intelligent cause. It knows how to create this web. Knowledge is there. So you two are equal in terms of the knowledge there. But the spider leaves the web and goes there. The spider remains there. Web remains there. In your dream, when you go out of the dream, do you still hold on to the dream there? You leave it there. The dream disappears, correct? Your dream disappears into you. You no longer have the dream. You cannot say that, I have parked my dream somewhere else there and I'm going to come back and relive the dream again. See, it's all theory. Reliving the dream, talking like this. It means what? Reliving the dream means like your real experience. Nobody can continue in a dream from where he left off. Because that particular dream, intensity or everything was there, is already gone. And even if you want to recreate the dream also, it will be a varied dream. It will not be same as what it is. The intensity may be less. Like I was teaching Vedanta, maybe like you are the starting, the batch time. I had 2 other batches before this you started. So about 6 years ago, when we had this first Vedanta class. So I had a student who was a brilliant student. And he used to always come and tell me, like every day he has a dream. At least once a week. He'll be chased by elephants all the time. So he says, Shankarji, I had elephants chasing me all the time and I used to run up and down the stairs. They used to come and chase me. He told me it's narrow stair and 20 elephants were chasing me. Then this concept about talking came. Then said, he also understood that it's such a narrow stair. 20 elephants cannot fit into the stair. Not even one elephant can go through the stair. But he had 20 elephants there chasing him. And he was running around elephants and elephant chasing him. Then they were coming down. So all these things are happening to him. It happened to him for quite a while. Even after Vedanta also the dream was there. Like you get chased by tigers, you chased by lions, all the things are there. But if you look at the whole analysis of this, the dream itself is created by you. You are the sutradhar for dream, right? You are the owner of the dream, and you are the creator of the dream itself, and all the ingredients required are supplied by you. Nobody else supplies anything out of yourself, right? And you know how to make the dream successful also. So you innovate there. If something doesn't work this way, then you want to go that way. So depending upon what dream you have or what intensity you have, and dreams have got no connection with what you're doing today, it can have anything in the past so many years. If you're 55 years old, it can be last 45 years also, some dream would be there, sitting in subconsciousness, and it will just come randomly. Sometimes you wonder, why is this coming to me now? I said, I didn't even think about it. But there is something called the subconscious, or something which is residing inside you, which is suppressed, but you think you do not know about it. You don't know about it, but it is suppressed inside, and when the time comes, it will come. So when the dream is over, the dream is resolved into you, correct? So dream is created by you, the intelligence given by you, you are enjoying the experience of the dream, and after the enjoyment is over, you are also able to take the dream back into you, right? So the creator of the dream, Srishtikarta, is the Srishtikarta, means the creator of the universe. Then the protector, Palanharta, which is the protector of the universe. So protector means sustainer of the universe. So you sustain the dream, you make sure the dream is intact, nothing is broken. Then there are also the Samhara Murti, or the where everything gets resolved into you. So in the same way, Ishvara also does not need any materials for creating this universe. Number one. Okay. Second thing is, Ishvara does not require any intelligence from somebody else to tell him how to create the universe. He does not need to be told how to protect the universe. Also, he doesn't need to know how to resolve the universe, because these are all part and parcel of his nature. So to understand the Ishvara model, you will understand your dream model. So the dream model, you understand how you being the source of everything, yet you think that I am different from everything else. So Ishvara also is called Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam. The Srishtihi and also Vinashaha also. So Vinashaha means there's nothing really destroyed here. See, dreams are not created by you. Are you creating the dream? You're not creating the dream. It's just thoughts rising in your mind. So there's no creation per se. It's only manifestation of your thoughts. Thoughts are arising in your mind, and thoughts are getting manifested. Are you creating anything there? You're not creating anything. There's a physical action of creating? No. It is just a thought which is coming out of your mind. So there's a manifestation. First of all, Vedanta student understand that there is no creation is not there. So because there's no creation, there is no sustenance, and there's no destruction. So nothing gets destroyed, created here. Nothing gets destroyed here. Because creation itself is an action, and creation is only the manifestation, we call it. So the same Ishvara manifests itself into several jivas like us. So he does not create anybody. It's his own vision of manifesting in different things. So that's why in the Vedanta we never use creation. The creation theory is proposed or told to negate later on, saying that there is no creation. Because if there is a creation, there has to be a creator, correct? There is a creator, then creator also has to be time bound. Because creator may say he should be somebody who is bound by time. But we all know that Ishvara is not bound by time. So Ishvara cannot be the creator. Ishvara can only be the manifesting medium, manifester. So he manifests or appears as several things. So one Ishvara appears as several jivas, several plants, several trees, several rivers, mountains, etc. He manifests itself. He means there's no he there. It's just a phenomenon, just a power. There's nothing he there. He said because Purushaha is there. Sahasrasirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat. See, the Purusha Suktam it is said. Sabhubim Vishvato Vritva. So, Bhumihi Vishvato Vritvaha means this entire universe is pervaded by Ishvara. Ishvara does not pervade the universe. Universe is pervaded by Ishvara. Concept. Where is God and where God is not? Ishvara pervades the universe means Ishvara is doing an action of entering the universe. But what do we say here? The universe itself is pervaded by Ishvara. So just a understanding philosophy. Just a think, different way to think. So when you say this universe itself is pervaded by Ishvara, it means everything else is there. There's nothing else here. When you say Ishvara pervades universe, it means what? There's an action of pervading. You get what I'm saying? It's an action called pervading, then there's an action, the doership comes into existence. But there's no doership for Ishvara because Ishvara is not a doer. So this concept has to be understood for now. You don't need to worry too much about, because this topic I'll keep talking about in the several classes. In various classes, you will see the same thing coming again and again. So you will understand the Ishvara concept better. But today I wanted you to understand that how Ishvara is to be seen as non-separate from yourself. First of all, you have to see that you are a manifestation of the Bhagavan. You are not a creation of the Bhagavan. It is an appearance which is there in every form, every tree, every non-living being is there. But due to the Maya, due to the power of Maya, due to the power which is in the Brahman, consciousness, this power conceals our ignorance, our knowledge, and our ignorance is exposed. So that brings us to the topic called Maya. So understand Ishvara, we understand what Maya is. So which will be our topic for discussion next class. So Maya is a power of Brahman or consciousness. Maya does not have existence outside of Brahman. It doesn't have existence of its own. Thereby it is called Mithya or not related, not absolute truth. So we'll talk about Maya in the next class, and I will explain to you how this particular phenomenon called Maya, which is the feminine form called Maya, how it hides knowledge and makes you ignorant about the identification of yourself and the Paramatma being same. There's really nothing called Jiva, it's only Ishvara here. So that concept is explained in the next class. So far, have you understood today the concept of Ishvara?
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay. See, you have to understand one thing. Look at the spider example. Look at dream example. Understand the creator aspect. Understand intelligent aspect. Those two things important. So the key thing to understand is there is nothing you are going out to create anything. Neither you have all the things which are required by you to do all these things. But somehow we feel that we are going and getting some knowledge. All these things are there. So the spider example and the dream example, you study it or compare it for now to understand how Ishwarattam exists. So Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam, or the material cause, intelligent cause, is Ishwaraha. So there will be more topics on Ishvara as we go along. At the moment, you do not get confused with anything more than this. Kushalji, have you got any questions or anything which is
Yeah, I have a question,
okay?
and maybe I'll wait for the answers to come later, but I'll ask it anyway.
Okay.
What's I can understand the concepts of Ishvara and maybe it's a construction, a construct, but how is that distinguished from the chit or the consciousness? Are they the same thing? Because it doesn't sound like they are.
No,
You have 6 characteristics.
They are not the same thing, because consciousness is a principle by which the jiva itself is seemed to be knowing. In reality, there is nothing called jiva at all. Jiva is actually a myth or just a avidya, you can say. It is due to ignorance a person thinks a jiva. In reality, there is nothing called jiva at all here. There is only Paramatma here. There is consciousness only here. So when jiva Paramatma Aikyam becomes one, when jiva becomes merged into consciousness, that's when jiva loses the identity called jiva. So jiva, when you say jivatma, will exist as long as the ignorance is there, avidya is there. And this jiva is a concept which is explained by Maya. So jiva is actually a phenomenon of Maya itself. So Maya is the one which makes the person think that he is jiva. Okay?
Yeah, but the Ishvara, you've given 6 characteristics of Ishvara.
Correct.
That means you're defining it. But in the previous classes, I think you were told that you can't positively define the consciousness. You can only say what it is not.
Correct.
So the Ishvara is not really this Brahman. It's a way to maybe it's a concept to understand Brahman, to first begin to start understanding Brahman.
Right. This is a
right?
concept. See, first of all, you have to understand Ishvara as a status, as a title.
Okay.
It's not consciousness. It is a title to understand the Sarvatmakam or the entirety of the Samashti Vicharaha, from single vision to multiple vision. So Ishvara is also a title or status given for a particular phenomenon called Ishvara. But Ishvara itself resolves into consciousness, because Ishvara and consciousness are not two different things. They just appear to be different. So when you say even consciousness also we describe in terms of asangaha, advitiyam, etc. We talk about it. But what you would understand is you have to arrive at consciousness by what it is not. So you have to see an object. So if I say this pen, this pencil, is it a permanent object or impermanent object? So this pencil is actually a name, right? It is a form and it has got a function. And the pencil, if you see, look at it, has got made of wood. It has got aspects, it has got a black tip, it has got a some other aspects, it's got a color. So all of them put together calls a pencil. Same way, all these different things, aspects which are there, is all put together as one Ishvara. Correct. So, but the source of this pencil is actually wood, right? Without the wood being there, can there be a pencil? There cannot be. Now, can there be wood without a tree?
Yes.
No, with the, can the wood be there without a tree? It cannot, because the source of the wood is tree, correct? So any wood is taken from a tree, right? Any wood, can be teak tree, oak tree, whatever tree you got. It is coming from a source called wood is from a particular tree. Correct? It can be any tree, it doesn't matter. Wood, when you say wood, what does it strike you? Wood means what? It is actually some tree, correct? Is it right or wrong? Wood, when you say a table, let's say a table, right? You have a
Yeah.
table in your home. So the table is made of what? Wood, right?
Yes, yeah.
And the wood is, when you say the question, the wood, what do you say about the wood? You say this is a teak wood, or this is mahogany wood, or this is rose wood. You say that?
Yeah.
So what does rosewood stands for? It's a tree.
I understand, yeah.
Okay. Now, is a tree, the source of the tree is where? The ground, the earth. It is not in the antariksha, in the earth, correct? The earth also is belonging to the Panchabhutaha, 5 elements. One of the elements is earth, correct?
Mm.
And the 5 elements comprise of the call is called nature, Prakriti, correct? It is part of nature. So far, just with me. So far, I'm just giving a bird's eye view. Do not. So
Yeah.
you go back. Finally, come to something called nature, right? You have come from a pencil now to something called nature. You identified the source of everything. You come to nature now. Prakriti, correct? And Prakriti is a name for Maya. It is a modified form of Maya called Prakriti. And Maya itself is actually a power of Brahman. So Maya, Prakriti resolved into Maya, Maya resolved into Brahman, pencil resolved into Brahman. There's no more thing called pencil. Pencil is consciousness, but you resolve like this. Likewise, Jiva also the physical body, same way you go like this. Physical body, where does it belong? You belong to Prakriti. Prakriti, where does it belong? To Maya. Maya, where does it belong? To consciousness. Thereby what? Jiva is equal to consciousness.
So just, I know it's getting late, but I'll just leave it at that. But so Ishvara is a manifestation of consciousness.
It is.
So it's not the first cause. It could be the second cause. The
It's
first cause is consciousness.
Yeah, the consciousness is the main thing from which everything emerges. So Ishvara also resolves into consciousness.
Yeah, okay.
Finally, when you, Jiva, becomes one with Ishvara, Ishvara will, if you think Ishvara is different from consciousness, there will be 2 different things. So finally, Ishvara also has to resolve into consciousness. So there will be only consciousness.
Yeah.
Just as the tree, as we say the pencil, as long as you see the pencil there, you will see the pencil is different from consciousness. But in resolve the pencil, the astitva of pencil is gone, correct? Finally, the pencil is not there anymore. So the pencil is the jiva.
Yeah.
All of them you keep removing one by one, and finally you trace it back to the source. So when you go to the source, you lose track of this. You just resolve everything there already. There's no more pencil.
Okay.
You got that? So that is how you understand. You have to work backwards. You cannot arrive at the truth directly. You have to arrive at what the truth is not.
So the Ishvara is just a concept. So it's just a concept for you to be able to handle the abstract Brahman a little better.
Correct. Because without understanding Ishvara, you will not be able to arrive at consciousness.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Sridhamji, any questions you got?
I got one. This has been asked about the other day. So what is the nimitta karanam for this prakriti or the pramacham?
See, the nimitta karanam is Maya. That's the Maya is the karanam for that. So Maya is a power of Brahman, which is the karanam for the prakriti to come into existence.
And what is the nimitta karanam for Maya?
The nimitta karanam for ultimately is Brahman only. So Brahman is the only one from which everything comes into existence. Consciousness. So consciousness is also the nimitta karanam, upadana karanam. Just as the spider is there, it is the only one which is the form of both of them. So you do not need to go anywhere to look anything else. So you'll understand this better, Siddhanti, when I talk about Maya, because all these questions are coming into the topic. That is why I'm systematically leading in from Ishvara to Maya, because you understood what Maya is, Ishvara is so far. But to understand Ishvara, you'll have to resolve the Maya aspect. Then only you'll be able to understand what Ishvara is. At the moment, there is a bit of layer covering between us and the Ishvara, correct? And the layer is the Maya, which is actually stopping us from understanding what it is. So how that Maya works is explained, will be explained next class and subsequent classes. So then you understand the aspect of Maya, then you will be able to remove that particular aspect and see through that clearly.
Okay. The only one lingering question is like, when Ishvara has vairagyam, the desireless, then why there is a nimitta karanam for him?
See, when they say nimitta karanam, as I told you, he doesn't have the reason to do anything. He's not a creator per se. He doesn't do any creation at all. It is just the action, its own nature, purpose, the natural purpose is to operate like this. He doesn't do anything creation like this. Because he's not a creator, he doesn't have anything called desire to do anything at the moment. He doesn't have anything like this. See, is your question about, are you trying to connect the creation of the universe with the power of Ishvara?
No. I'm just leading back to that Chandogya Upanishad that you said.
Yeah. So it means, see, Sadeva, it means Sadeva.
Existence, yeah.
So existence, when you say, consciousness is the only principle existing before, and there's nothing else existing before. It means what? Consciousness is the truth, and from which everything came into existence after that. So before the world universe came into existence, the world was not like this. It was actually as one full thing, fullness. So from there, the power of Maya acted upon consciousness, and then it became into many.
So my question is that the power of Maya, okay, probably we'll cover that in the next class. So I'll wait for that. Yeah.
Yeah, the power of Maya is the topic, there's a big topic there for Maya, which we'll cover, and you will understand how the Maya actually works in unveiling Brahman and also concealing Brahman, consciousness. So there's got two powers. One thing is called Vikshepa Shakti, Avana Shakti. There are two powers of there. So which we'll talk about it elaborately next class, subsequent 2 classes. For the moment, you have to understand that Ishvara is actually as intelligent cause and the material cause. That's what you should take. And because he has got the capacity, so we say he's got everything. All vairagyam, all power, everything is God, right? The moment you limit him into something, then he will not be, he'll be powerless. So we give him all 6 different aspects of that for him. Is it okay so far?
Yep.
So, Bhavanaji, any questions from your side?
No, but I'm very eager to hear about Maya.
Okay. I think next 2 classes you'll be able to get to understand more about that. Okay. So we'll stop the class here and then we'll continue next time. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsate Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste and Shubhradri to all of you.